and your take on your former teams. The first one being the Tennessee Titans and how they are possibly playing as good as they are. Because remember going into the season, I think a lot of people remember it was kind of like a wash. Right, Malarkey gets a job, and they didn't really go out and try to rebuild anything. They said we're going to do this old school. We're going to run the ball, build an offensive line. You draft Derrick Henry. Obviously, you have DeMarco Murray, and Marcus Mariota is just going to grow. But lo and behold, they're the number 2 offense in the National Football League. How are they doing this?
Well, they've been able to do it because of the run. They built a way of playing. They have a format to trying to win football games, and that's running the football. I think they feel that on the offensive side of the ball, they don't have a lot of playmakers. But what they do have is they have an offensive line that is young and good. They brought in Ben Jones from Houston, who solidified that offensive line from the center position. They draft Jack Conklin out of Michigan State to be their right tackle. Kayla Lewan, obviously everybody knows who he is. The first round out of Michigan 3 years ago. He's playing extremely well. So they built this team to run the football, and because of that, they've been able to play action and get a lot of big shots down the field. I think Marcus is in the top 5 in passing yards per attempt.
Yep.
And that's basically a testament to how good they're running the football. Everyone thought DeMarco Murray was done because of his days in Philadelphia. Frankly, I thought he was as well. But we see it wasn't DeMarco, it was Philly. And he's come here, and I would dare to say he would be comeback player of the year because of the way he's playing.
Yeah, no, he is playing fantastic. But you question, though, what about their wide receiving core? When I think of the Tennessee Titans, I'm saying, okay, it's Delaney Walker and who's he throwing the ball to? You know, it feels like there's nobody there. But when you go look at the stats, Rashad Matthews is actually having a really good season. He's got 600 yards and 6 touchdowns already, in addition to Delaney Walker and his kid Tajay Sharp, who I know nothing about. He's actually having a good year. So, I mean, they're getting it done in ways that are surprising.
Yeah, they're doing it in a quiet way, an unassuming way. No one thought that the Titans would come in and have a passing game, and slowly but surely they built up a passing game, and I think it's all because of Marcus Mariota has gotten comfortable with Matthews. He started off slow in his offense. I think he was trying to figure it out, but he started off slow. In the last 6 or 7 weeks, he's been the hottest receiver, or one of the hottest receivers in the NFL. He has 6 or 7 touchdowns over an 8-game span. He's making big plays for him, and Marcus trusts him. You know what it's all about when,
Yep.
when a quarterback trusts you, and he feels he can go to you each and every time, and that's the way he feels about Matthews. And then Delaney Walker, I mean, arguably he's the second best tight end behind Gronk, but he doesn't get the notoriety because the Titans are not doing well and because of the market he plays in. But each and every game, Delaney shows up, and that is what has put the Tennessee Titans in the position that they're in now. They lost last week, a heartbreaker. They can't figure it out against Indy, but they put together an offensive unit that can beat you via the run or pass.
Yeah, I agree with you. Marcus Mariota is completing 64% of his passes, has 23 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. We're talking to Derrick Mason, who was a former wide receiver for the Titans. But I want to ask you about your other team because we saw some beef going on in media and social media between Ray Lewis and Joe Flacco, the quarterback. Tell me about Joe, about his leadership ability. We know how they started this year. A lot of people thought they were going to be the surprise of 2016. They came back to earth, and they're still, I think, trying to figure things out a little bit. But did Ray have a point?
Well, it's hard because I've been always told, listen, you can't expect someone to be who you were, or you can't expect someone to be who you think they should be. We can't expect Joe to be the Ray Lewis of this team now, and Ray shouldn't put that pressure on Joe. Joe has done it the way he's been able to do it. He's kind of like Eli Manning, you know that, a guy that doesn't say much. But when he steps out on the field, he goes out there and plays. This is the guy that won them a Super Bowl, took them to 2. He's been a Super Bowl MVP. So to say he doesn't have the leadership qualities, I think it's absurd. They're just going through a rough patch right now. All teams go through it. Ray went through it when he was there. So I just think it's unfair to criticize, especially someone that has won your Super Bowl, someone that you've been around, that puts in the work. And listen, Joe understands he needs to get better. Everybody knows that, and Joe would be the first person to say that. But to criticize them, and they're still in the hunt to win that division, I think it's completely wrong. But, I mean, listen, if anybody can do it, it's Ray.
Yeah.
He has the skins on the wall, as we say. He's still the face of that organization, even though he's not playing it. So, I mean, I know Joe. He probably took it as constructive criticism, and he's going to let it roll off his back and keep playing.
Yeah, no, the Raiders or the Ravens lost 4 in a row before they won 2 in a row against the Steelers and the Browns, which are important, obviously, because they're in the division. And then they lost this game this past weekend against the Dallas Cowboys when they played great in the first half and then not so great in the second half. Ray Lewis, though, when he apologized, obviously, people who didn't see it, Ray Lewis apologized in a lengthy video that he put out there. Will Baltimore look at Ray any different? He's in an analyst role. You know, and it's kind of his job just to give some perspective. And I think you're right, Derrick. I think we put too much on that word leadership because you want it to look a certain way, right? You want everybody to be Peyton Manning, who gets up and screams in your face and does all these things. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a great leader. Do people hold a grudge against Ray?
You know what? I don't think they will because, I mean, again, this guy has been the face of that organization. He's been a part of 2 Super Bowl championships. He's a legend in that town. I don't think they will look at him any different. But, you know, diehard Raven fans, you just don't like hearing that from someone that you consider family, you know?
Yeah.
It's one thing to hear it from somebody outside, but it's another to hear from someone that's in-house. And Ray apologized. I know he didn't mean any anything bad by it, but he's still passionate. I was around 3 weeks ago when they played, 3 or 4 weeks ago when they played Washington and lost the game, and he was just as passionate in the box as he was on the field. So that'll never leave him, and you just have to excuse some things that Ray might say because a lot of it is in the heat of the moment because he loves that team.
Of course,
you know,
he's emotional like that, man.
Absolutely. So, you know, they hugged it out, I guess, so to speak, made up, and like I said, I know Joe. He'll let it roll off his back and he'll keep playing.
Yeah, no, of course he will. We're talking to Derrick Mason here now. What's happened to Sparty, your alma mater? The Michigan State Spartans, they were great for a couple of years. They just fell off the face of the earth. You know, even though they played Ohio State tight. You know, when you look at that program, do you think they suffer a little bit over the last couple of years because of Jim Harbaugh and Michigan?
Well, I don't think so because they've still been able to win. This year was just, you know, it's every team goes through it. Some tend to stay in the valley a little bit longer than others. Hopefully, D'Antonio can get this program turned back around. And this was just a blip on the screen, but they don't have good quarterback play.
Yeah.
You know, their defense is not as tough as it was. I think losing Pat Narduzzi last year, I think it hurt. It hurt that defense last year, and I think it's hurting this year. So but I do have faith that D'Antonio will get this program back to where it was the last 8 or 9 years. He's one of the best coaches in college football. So I'm not panicking. It's just one of those years. I hate it.
Yeah.
Especially that we lost to Michigan. I hate it, but listen, I understand, and hopefully we can put this thing back on the track quickly.
Hey, you could be in a decade of melees like my Virginia Cavaliers.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So you're good. How do you look when you look at this in the Big Ten right now? Because it's compelling coming down the stretch. Obviously, it's rivalry week, and Michigan and Ohio State been the winner of that game. If Ohio State wins, then Penn State gets to play in the Big Ten championship. But then they got to beat Wisconsin. I mean, is there a chance that 2 Big Ten teams are going to be in the college football playoff? Are they the strongest conference? I know people want to say it's the SEC, but I mean, it's hard to argue against the Big Ten right now.
Yeah, it is. I'm in FCC country, so if I get on the radio and start screaming Big Ten, it's like blasphemy. I can't do it.
Yeah, but it's organic for you. It's organic.
Absolutely. So, but then, I have the numbers to back it up.
Yeah.
This year, the Big Ten has been as strong, especially the top end, as any other conference. We got 3 teams right now that has the potential for with Wisconsin, because Wisconsin has played really good football. They've lost their games that they've lost. They've been in the last second or in overtime. So we have potentially 4 teams that has a real argument of making it to the college football playoff. I don't think there's any other conference in college football that has 4 legitimate teams that you can argue they should have a opportunity or the right to be in a college football playoff. But it'll come down to this Ohio State-Michigan game. If Ohio State wins, then, Penn State goes to the Big Ten championship game. That might be a blessing for Ohio State because they don't play. They sit back and watch. And then the winner of the Big Ten championship, honestly, would have an argument as well. Because I think if Ohio State win, I think they're in. I really do. But then now who do you take a Big Ten championship team as well? I think that's the dilemma that the panel will be in.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. We're talking to Derrick Mason, who is down in SEC country doing a radio show on a daily basis. When you look at the SEC, though, and I'm looking at the standings right now, the only team that jumps out is Alabama. I know Florida's been okay. They're going to, they may play and get a chance to win the SEC championship, but probably not. I mean, what happened to the SEC?
Well, the biggest disappointment has been UT.
Yeah.
They had a lot of hype coming into the season. This was the most veteran-laden team as far as Power 5 teams in college football, and they couldn't get it done. Now, a lot of it had to do with injuries, but when they were healthy, they still, after they beat Florida, they lost to Alabama. They lost to A&M, and then somehow, some way, they lose to South Carolina. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And then Georgia, obviously, they're playing with a young quarterback, new coach, so you knew they were going to have their up and down. But Jim McElwain, I'm impressed with him because just when we thought this was Tennessee's year and Florida would finish no better than second or third,